Losing your sense of purpose after 40 feels unsettling in a very specific way. Not dramatic, not explosive, just quietly disorienting. You wake up one day and realize the life you built no longer answers the question it once solved. For years, purpose was obvious. It came from momentum. It came from building. It came from becoming. There were goals to chase, milestones to reach, identities to grow into. Purpose was externally supplied. Finish school, build a career, start a family, prove something. And then, slowly, those structures stabilize. The chaos settles, the urgency fades, the climb levels out. And that is when the emptiness begins. Not because life is bad, but because the old definition of purpose stops working. After 40, many people feel lost without knowing why. They have what they were supposed to want, yet something feels strangely incomplete. This confusion is often mistaken for ingratitude or failure or midlife crisis, but it's neither. It's a developmental shift. Earlier in life, purpose is borrowed. It is shaped by expectations, survival, and validation. After 40, borrowed purpose starts to collapse, not violently, silently. The roles that once defined you begin to feel restrictive. The identities you worked hard to build start feeling heavy. You are no longer asking who you will become. You are asking who you actually are. That question is destabilizing, because the first half of life is about construction. The second half is about meaning, and meaning does not behave like achievement.
It cannot be optimized. It cannot be rushed. It cannot be proven. Purpose after 40 stops responding to ambition. Many people panic at this point. They assume something is wrong with them. They try to recreate urgency. They chase new goals. They add noise. But urgency is not purpose. It is pressure. Pressure worked earlier because it pushed growth. Later, it only creates exhaustion. After 50, this feeling often deepens because time becomes more visible. You become aware of limits, of energy, of mortality. This awareness is not morbid. It is clarifying. You no longer want to waste yourself, but you may not know what to give yourself to. This is the hidden struggle of midlife, not failure, but misalignment. The old motivations no longer fit. The new ones have not fully formed. So people feel suspended. They are not starting over, but they are no longer climbing. Society does not talk about this stage honestly. It frames purpose as something you find once and keep forever. But purpose is not static. It evolves as the psyche evolves. After 40, the psyche turns inward, not in isolation, but in integration. You begin to feel the weight of unlived parts of yourself, not regrets exactly, but ignored dimensions, interests you set aside, values you compromised, truths you postponed. Earlier in life, suppression was adaptive. It helped you belong. It helped you succeed. Later, suppression becomes painful. Purpose after 40 often begins with discomfort, a restlessness you cannot name, a quiet dissatisfaction that doesn't go away. This discomfort is not a problem. It is a signal. It is the psyche asking for alignment instead of expansion. Many people confuse purpose with productivity.
But productivity measures output. Purpose measures meaning. You can be very productive and deeply purposeless. This is why success sometimes intensifies emptiness. After 50, purpose becomes less about achievement and more about expression. Not expression for applause, but expression for coherence. You want your life to make sense internally. This is where the second half of life truly begins. Carl Jung described this phase as individuation, the process of becoming whole rather than impressive. Individuation is quieter than ambition, but it is deeper. It asks different questions. Not what can I build, but what must I integrate? Not how can I grow, but what must I stop abandoning in myself? Purpose after 40 is not found by adding more. It is found by removing what no longer fits. This feels dangerous at first because removal threatens identity. If you are no longer defined by striving, who are you? This fear keeps many people stuck. They cling to roles that exhaust them. They maintain identities that feel empty. They mistake familiarity for meaning. Purpose after 40 often begins with grief. Grief for the life you thought you would live. Grief for the person you thought you would become. This grief is necessary. Without mourning the old narrative, the new one cannot form. Many people avoid this grief by staying busy, by distracting themselves, by numbing. But purpose does not emerge in noise, it emerges in honesty. After 50, honesty becomes unavoidable. You can no longer pretend that time is unlimited. You can no longer defer yourself indefinitely. This does not create despair, it creates precision. You become selective. You stop asking what looks meaningful. You start asking what feels true. Purpose after 40 is not loud. It does not announce itself. It often shows up as a quiet pull toward contribution rather than competition, toward depth rather than expansion. Many people find purpose through mentoring, not because they want authority, but because meaning now flows outward. Others find it through creativity, not to be seen, but to express what was silenced earlier. Some find purpose in service, not sacrifice, but alignment with values that were dormant. And some find purpose simply by becoming present. Presence sounds small, but it is not. Presence allows life to be felt again. Earlier in life, experience is rushed. Later, it is tasted. Purpose after 50 often feels slower, but it is richer. It is less about becoming someone and more about inhabiting yourself. This is why comparisons become meaningless. You stop measuring your life against timelines that are no longer yours. You realize that purpose is not a destination, it is a relationship with meaning, and that relationship deepens as illusion fades. One of the great myths of adulthood is that purpose should feel energizing all the time. In reality, it often feels grounding. It does not always excite you.
It steadies you. Purpose after 40 feels like relief more than adrenaline. It feels like alignment instead of urgency. You are no longer trying to prove your worth. You are trying to live in truth with it. This shift is subtle, but it changes everything. People who find purpose later in life often describe it as coming home, not because life becomes easy, but because it becomes honest. The frantic edge softens, the noise quiets. You begin to trust your inner compass. This is not a return to youth, it is a departure from performance. Purpose after 40 is not about reinventing yourself, it is about reclaiming yourself. The parts of you that were postponed, the values that were negotiated away. This reclamation is not dramatic, it is steady, and it does not need to be witnessed. Many people never talk about this stage because it cannot be marketed easily. It does not promise quick results, it does not reward hustle, but it offers something better: wholeness. Purpose after 40 is not something you chase, it is something you allow to emerge. By listening instead of striving, by subtracting instead of accumulating, by choosing meaning over momentum. And perhaps the quiet truth is this: losing purpose after 40 is not a breakdown, it is an invitation. An invitation to stop living a borrowed life and begin living a coherent one. Not louder, not bigger, but truer. And that kind of purpose does not fade with age. It deepens.